Okay, everybody, Morphy here. I'm here today with Joe Bangles, CBE, and I looked this up. CBE, Commander of the Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. Now, am I okay to call you Joe? I mean, do I have to call you Sir or Lord or, was this something that the CBE, was this something you actually went to Buck Palace to get?
I would like to think that it was, but no, unfortunately, CBE actually stands for Cheeseboard Enthusiast. Um, yeah, as opposed to a commander with any real sort of title given to me by Her Majesty, which is a shame, but I'm still waiting.
Oh, right. That just shows just how unprepared I am for this particular episode, doesn't it, really?
I did put a caveat in my profile saying what CBE standed for, just in case people thought that I was trying to slip under the radar with an honorary title from the Royals.
So these people who are commander of the most excellent, do you think they're probably cheeseboard enthusiasts as well, though?
On the side, they may well be, but I don't think it's what they decide to use their CBE for.
Oh, well, more for them, I say.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I really want to get into this whole idea of the World Cup of cheese. So, where did the idea actually come from?
Well, sort of about 10 weeks ago, the whole cheese profile started. I had no inclination to create a Twitter account at all. 10 weeks ago, I had no Twitter. I logged on there and done what most people often do, chime in unintellectually to political baits that they don't really have enough information about. And then vitriol usually spills over into the world of Twitter, and anger sort of lies there within. So I thought, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be another person chiming into shouting into the ether of Twitter. So I asked, half inebriated, there's a guy in England called Lord Alan Sugar. He's actually a lord, so that isn't a cheese-based title. Yeah, he's on The Apprentice over here, and I referred to him, Lord Alan Sugar, as Sugar Tits because I was rather half cut, and said, "Do you have a favourite cheese?" Now, Sugar Tits replied with ultra mature cheddar within a couple of moments, and that kind of went a little bit mad with the sort of hundreds of replies to him saying what their favourite cheese was, also asking why he replied to Sugar Tits. But yeah, I thought it was a bizarre question to ask. It was completely picked at random, had no inclination to speak about cheese. So then I asked John Cleese from Monty Python. He came back with a wonderful answer, and then it just spiraled on from there. So after about 400 replies over the course of 8 weeks, I've documented them on a cheese thread on my profile on Twitter, which has over, I think, 550,000 views and 150,000 interactions. And I thought, well, there's only so many different people you can document and ask, so it might be worth doing something with the followers that I accrued. So I thought I would do a random World Cup of cheese, which seems to have gone from strength to strength.
No pun intended with the strength to strength.
No, not at all. It has matured over time.
That's amazing. So Alan Sugar, of course, he's on a fairly cheesy TV show, but John Cleese, that's a real feather in your cap, isn't it? Sort of Basil Fawlty himself.
Oh, he's an absolute comedy icon. He's sort of up there with one of the best comedy legends in, well, probably comedy history, not just British. So yeah, to get a reply from him, I almost felt like I peaked a little too early.
Yeah, that's very true. So the World Cup, I've been keeping a bit of an eye on it just recently, and I was very pleased to see that cheddar won out against mozzarella on the 4th of July. I'm a big cheddar fan. In Australia, our cheeses are just frankly shite, to be honest. We've got one in the supermarkets that's called Tasty, and it's like a reverse psychology thing. It'd be like Egypt having a green flag. Yeah. It just isn't tasty at all. If you put it with a bit of Branston pickle, and we can get Branston over here, you just taste the pickle. You can't taste the cheese at all. It's terrible. But I have discovered one over here called Mersey Valley, which is really a tasty cheddar, and holds its own against Branston pickle. And but unfortunately, you have to take a mortgage out to buy it.
As a lot of the ways with some imports, I'm afraid. But yeah, I've had similar feedback from Australian.
This is a local cheese. This is a locally made cheese.
It's a local produced cheese as well. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, how comes it's so expensive? Because obviously your dairy market, I would have thought, would have been quite large in Australia. production.
Probably because it's actually tasty, unlike the cheese called Tasty.
Ah, I see. Yeah, if you have to shoehorn what you think the flavours are or the experience, yeah, moderately consumable cheese.
Yes. So the World Cup of Cheese. So we talked about how it actually arose, and we just talked about that result. But there was a bit of an upset the other day, wasn't there? It was a real nail biter. It was, I was thinking about things like, Liverpool in the European Cup. I don't know if you remember that one a few years ago when they were 3-0 down. One of my son's teachers was in a pub, and he got drunk that night, and some of his friends persuaded him to put £500 on Liverpool at half time, and he cleared a majority of his mortgage.
Oh wow!
The next day. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, so you definitely remember that one.
Absolutely phenomenal game, yeah.
Yeah, and then there was, of course, the wonderful overtake by Max Verstappen on Charles Leclerc last year at the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah.
And then there was Halloumi versus Brie.
They are putting it in that bracket. It has started to be sort of bundled in. It's still quite early days now because obviously the final hasn't happened. But yeah, they are sort of muttering that it could be held in the same sort of regards, which is very flattering. Yeah, well, the Halloumi versus Brie thing, I just want to sort of, when I first done this World Cup of Cheese, it was a little bit of fun that I was expecting may get sort of, I don't know, I was hoping for anywhere between 50 and 100 votes, because in a 2-horse race, if 6 people vote, it becomes a little bit sort of, not really worthwhile. But within, I think, the first 4 hours, there was over 1,000 votes, and it's getting sort of anywhere between 2,000 and 4,000 votes a day, which is absolutely surpassed my sort of expectations, having not been on Twitter for more than sort of a couple of months. But sort of, the fun aspect of it actually turned into genuine anxiety, because I found myself checking at sort of 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning if Halloumi had overtaken Brie, because Brie was in the lead at sort of 51% for the first 16 hours. And I'm at work because I'm not even furloughed, or I'm not sort of in restricted COVID-19 phase. So I'm getting a job of work, getting paid. And I was in a meeting and I had my phone on silent, and I was to see, I've got the sort of around sort of my director to the left of me, and I'm refreshing my phone to see if Halloumi has just overpipped Brie, and lo and behold, it did, with 50.6% of the vote. Who knew?
So, are these matches actually on things like Bet365 and Betfair and stuff like that? Are people actually betting on this World Cup?
No, thankfully not. There is no financial incentive or implications throughout this World Cup. There is a prize for one winner at random. The winning cheese throughout the World Cup, I'm going to buy a kilo of that winning cheese. It will be the top end version of that cheese, and I'll be sending it to somebody who had voted, just as a thank you, really, just for participating in the World Cup of Cheese. That is British mainland, by the way, because if Parmesan wins and I have to purchase top end Parmesan a kilo's worth and then ship it to Melbourne, chances are I may have to also remortgage.
Yes, I would have thought so. So I'm interested in how the draw was done, because to me, as an early sort of round game, cheddar against mozzarella is quite a a couple of heavy hitters in there, and I would have picked either of those against Halloumi and Brie. So I want to know how the draw was actually done, and what's the governing body that oversees the draw.
I would probably go as far as to say this is more corrupt than the FIFA. Sort of the next World Cup is also being held. It's going to be in Abu Dhabi. They were the highest bidders. But no, it isn't just me pulling names out of a hat in my bedroom. It was a case of, I picked 16 cheeses. I wanted to be inclusive, which is the reason 2 vegan cheeses were chosen, Baby Bell, and a couple of sort of nostalgic classics. But I wasn't aware that this was even going to kick off. So the fact that I've probably had upwards of 50 inbox messages to ask me pretty much the same question: how could I put Brie versus Camembert in round 1 together when sort of cheeses like Red Leicester hadn't even made the draw? How on earth has Baby Bell slipped in when Emmental, Gruyere and sort of Cage Save Comtes haven't had a look in? What is this process? And I'm like, actually, I was just having a bit of a laugh, but apologies. I will learn from the next one. There will be an official poll and a draw, and 64 teams going in.
Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. So I was looking through a few of the celebrities who've commented on their favourite cheese, and the first one I came across was Damon Hill. Of course,
Yes.
yes, Formula One world champion, and he likes a cheese called Cornish Cruncher. And I looked up Cornish Cruncher, and it looks like the sort of cheese I would like. It looks like a very mature, tasty cheese.
Oh, it's
I bet
absolutely
it.
beautiful. Yeah, Cornwall produce absolutely wonderful cheeses. The Cornish Yarg is probably their best known cheese in Cornwall. That'll be on the southwest coast of England for people listening elsewhere. Yeah, beautiful cheese. That Damon Hill, actually, that was a reply from a guy called Steve who follows me, and he's kindly asked people on my behalf. He's had probably upwards of a dozen people reply. So I feel bad because sometimes I wake up, other people have asked celebrities what their favourite cheeses are on my behalf, and I feel like I'm not even doing the legwork now.
So I bet Damon didn't eat much Cornish Cruncher when he was racing, because they've got to be really, really
Yeah.
lightweight these days, haven't they?
Based on the BMI of people, yeah, it does surprise me because a lot of people say you do get about because I will have asked a Labour MP, then it will be a TV celebrity, then it will be sort of Max Verstappen. I do pretty much ask every single, every single
So,
personality.
so did you get a reply from Max?
No, but to be honest with you, I think sort of persistence is the key, as the reply from Piers Morgan would attest. So if I ask a question and it's not replied to, I don't generally look at that as, oh, he doesn't want to answer. I think he may answer on the 648th occasion. So I shall persevere.
Yeah, as an idea, it might be an idea for Lewis Hamilton to buy Max Verstappen some Cornish Cruncher, because a few extra 100 grams on Max might actually slow him down a bit.
Oh, absolutely. But although I've been told that Lewis Hamilton is actually a vegan, because I've asked him what his favourite cheese were, but the backlash from Lewis Hamilton fans asking, how dare you ask a vegan what his favourite cheese was? Apparently it was sacrilege of the highest order. So apologies to any vegans who took offence on that question.
Oh, right. I thought there were actually vegan cheeses.
Oh, well-ish. I refer to them as vegan cheeses, and then I get the backlash from people saying, actually, cheese is a dairy-based product. If milk and stuff isn't used in the production, you have to say vegan cheese alternative, but it's not quite as punchy.
Okay. Very good. Okay, Joe, just before we go on, I just wanted to give a shout out to Dog Brother, who actually introduced us. And he was a guest a couple of weeks ago. Very, very wise and funny guy. It was great to talk to him. And I'm sure I'll talk to him again at some stage in the future. But it was good of him to put us together. Just wanted to talk about a few more celebs who you've had replies from. Amongst them, a man who would have been disappointed by the cheddar result, Andrew Yang.
Yes. I was unaware, due to my political ignorance, I was unaware who Andrew Yang was. It was only when I often say that because of the people that I follow is quite sort of tightly knit, I don't necessarily know a lot of celebrities sort of from different countries. So I often ask people if they can recommend people that they would like to get replies from. So I asked on behalf of somebody else, and it was only when he replied and I delved a little deeper that I realised he was running as an independent in the 2020 presidential elections. I don't think he is anymore, but there's he has a fantastic following.
Yeah, he's a very smart guy. He's a very smart guy. He's been on Making Sense with Sam Harris a couple of times, and he mentioned as one of his policies when he was running universal basic income (UBI).
Yeah.
And you just think to yourself, in this sort of COVID-affected world that we're in, what price UBI? If everybody had a basic standard of living at the moment that they didn't have to necessarily go out to work for. I mean, it's certainly something I think eventually is going to have to come as artificial intelligence takes over more and more jobs that people do. I mean, it just seemed very visionary, and he seems, as I say, like an intelligent guy, and certainly light years ahead of the present incumbent of the White House.
I think I've got some cheeses in my fridge that are probably light years ahead of the current offerings, if I'm allowed to say. Apologies to any fans that are Trump fans that are out there that are following me. A few people rapidly clicking on the unfollow button, but never mind.
Well, actually, that brings me on to a tweet of yours, actually. When you were trying to get a reply from John Barrowman, there's a tweet of yours here. It says, Donald Trump is the greatest American since Jesus Christ.
Yes,
John, do you have a favourite cheese?
he did go on to retweet that because he wasn't aware, and unfortunately there isn't a sarcasm emoji. And the thing is, if you put LOL at the end of it, it kind of takes away from the impact of the sarcasm. I would have assumed that people would realise that most reasonably half-educated people would know that Jesus was an American, but I would say 99% of the replies that I have from those messages are basically people, well, a lot of people not even recognizing the fact that I've said that Jesus was American, just the fact that Donald Trump isn't particularly as great as I've stated. But no, John Barrowman went on to retweet that with an LOL because he thought that I was serious. Then 10 minutes later replied to say, don't worry, it's only a joke, and then kindly followed me. So John Barrowman is one of my famous followers. So yeah, so very nice of him.
That's very good. Captain Jack himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he tell you what his favourite cheeses were?
He never actually. No, I did ask him, but I don't think he replied. He may well have, but sometimes I forget half of the people who have replied, hence the website, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose when you're travelling through time and space, it can be difficult to, always get hold of your favourite cheese.
Indeed.
Looking through your tweets today, there was somebody here. In fact, I've got a couple of hers, and I do apologise because she's not here to defend herself. But somebody called Leanne Palmer, and she said she voted cheddar on taste, but if this was a versatility competition, mozzarella will win hands down. Yeah. And you said no chance.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm used to dealing with deluded people quite a bit, because I am atheist morph. But yeah, that seems to me a bit delusional about mozzarella there. Certainly, you can do all sorts with cheddar.
Oh, the two statements, I would probably go as far as to say Donald Trump is the greatest American since Jesus Christ probably has more weight to it than mozzarella is more versatile than cheddar. In theory, the versatility of mozzarella is there because you can, with its very low melting point, put it on anything. But that doesn't mean that it increases the taste or flavour. Mozzarella as a standalone cheese is, apologies to anybody watching this who it may offend, is ridiculously bland. I don't know why. It's it's the largest selling cheese in America for the last 2 years has pipped cheddar off the #1 spot, but that's just because they like to shovel pizzas.
But even when I make a pizza, I tend to use a mozzarella and cheddar mix to give it a bit more flavour.
Oh, absolutely. Mozzarella as a standalone cheese is subpar, in my honest opinion.
Yeah, especially because I tend to make pizzas with, I like, hot salamis and things like that on my pizza. Mozzarella just doesn't hold up against those sorts of things.
No, not at all. Stilton is actually now a ridiculously popular cheese for pizza toppings. It's becoming more and more sort of, hipster, I suppose, dare I say the word.
Yeah, I can see that. There's somebody here, Chris Rowe. He wrote Brexit, Trump, and the halloumi debacle. So he's comparing the halloumi versus brie to the result of Brexit and Trump winning the election in 2016. And he's saying at least the cheddar result looks like it will be the right one. And there's Leanne again, I'm afraid, and she's saying, do not tie the halloumi result to Brexit and Trump. Halloumi was the right decision. I would have been team brie, I'm afraid, there.
No, likewise. Thankfully, I'm not allowed to vote, which is great. So there is an element of sort of impartiality from myself. But the only reason why a lot of people were saying that was a debacle is because if you go on Twitter and have a look at the result on your phone, because the width of the screen, it basically narrows the percentage down. So it just shows 50% to 50%. It's only until you go onto a desktop computer that it allows the 50.4% and the 49.6%. So a lot of people do think that is sort of a little bit of insider shenanigans, which I can clear up for the record. There was no dodgy goings on.
But just behind your shoulder there, can't I see a brown paper bag? Has that got some money in it?
It's filled with cheese, actually. It's not. There's no money in there. That's my lunch, not a bribe.
Okay. We'll come back to a couple of more tweets that I picked up later on. So let's go back to this list. Carol Vorderman. So Carol Vorderman has commented on her favourite cheese. That's pretty impressive. I can remember watching lots and lots of Countdown when I was a bit
she's
younger.
phenomenal. I'm a big fan of Carol. I can't actually remember off the top of my head what cheese she chose. And again, that was a reply from a kind follower of mine who asked on my behalf. So I feel like I've subcontracted the cheese question out.
I've just spotted here George Foreman. George Foreman goes for cheddar.
Yeah.
And so George Foreman cheddar and Andrew Yang mozzarella. I think I'd definitely back Big George there. I think he could take Andrew Yang. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a competition there.
I see Army Hammer. He commented on his favourite cheese as well, and I would have thought this is going to be an obscure reference. I would have thought that he could afford a lot of cheese after him and his twin brother got that big payout from Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, unfortunately, I can only apologise. Like you said, it might be a bit niche. I haven't seen the film reference.
The Social Network.
Ah, okay. Was he in that?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So he played sort of two parts basically because they were twins, and they sued Zuckerberg in the film Eisenberg. Don Cheadle. Yeah. Now, Don Cheadle is not only a superhero, but he's actually in a position to ask Iron Man what his favourite cheese is.
Yeah, I would like to. Well, not anymore technically, because spoiler alert, but Iron Man no longer lives. Apologies if anybody hasn't seen the end of the last Marvel film, but R.I.P. Yeah, he would be able to. I've also asked Robert Downey. I think most of the Avengers and people in that little ensemble have been asked, but unfortunately, apparently, there's bigger things going on in the world. Apparently.
But when you went onto the BBC, didn't you? And the cheese was very much amongst the big news item, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did a Radio 1 quiz that they asked me to do. So it was like a multiple choice quiz on Radio 1. So yeah, apparently some people have rather enjoyed the cheese based questions.
One of the things that struck me when I saw this and saw how big it was getting, that you could actually get somebody like James Corden on board. He does this cardboard karaoke.
Yeah.
And you could almost do that, like a cheese board karaoke type thing. Pick people up in your car and sort of discuss cheeses on a board. That would be pretty cool.
And he also does the what was it? Fill your guts or spill your guts if you don't answer a question. And he could turn the wheel of cheese and just pick something out, because you've got a few cheeses which are quite unpalatable. Casu Merzu, which is a Sardinian maggot cheese. So yeah, there's a few cheeses I wouldn't necessarily want to go too close to.
That'd be good. So you've got Elton John as well. Stephen Fry.
Rather cheekily doing a self-plug there, because his favourite cheese was a link to his song Philadelphia Freedom. So yeah.
Stephen Fry. That's an interesting one. He's
probably my favourite. Probably my favourite reply. He's a bit of a hero of mine. So when somebody of that ilk does take the effort to get back to you, it's just pretty good news for me.
He's an absolute national treasure, isn't he, Stephen Fry? He's royalty amongst celebs, really.
Well, there was one reply that I had from actual actual royalty, but it was due to my ignorance and the fact that I was rather sleepy. Again, the same person who kindly had a reply, who's been asking on my behalf, sent me an inbox message to say, I've got Charles Spencer's replied. And I said, okay, thank you very much. So I had a look, it said historian, and uploaded it onto my website. And then he messaged to say, aren't you going to put his title? And I'm like, I don't usually put Mr. in front of people's names, but okay. I wasn't sure what prefix he what he likes to be referred to. So I quickly put him in Google, only to be reminded that he is Earl Charles Spencer, younger brother of Princess Diana, godson of the Queen of England, and uncle of the future King of England. So, yeah, I quickly and hastily put, Earl before his name and gave him his rightful prefix. So, yeah, we've got some royal to be, we've got some scientists, a lot of different types of people.
So, with is he Earl Spencer? Is he? Or
Earl Charles Spencer. He
Earl
replied
Spencer.
because he thought I was actually a CBE, because he mentioned that a fellow CBE of his makes his favourite cheese, and I didn't have the heart to tell him it was just for cheese board enthusiasts. So, yeah, apologies, Charles.
I'm sure he'll watch this episode, and he might actually be deeply offended by it. What was his favourite cheese then? Was it anything half decent? Or?
I'm regret. I think it was something called Hafford. A Hafford cheese. I'm not entirely sure. That's hence the reason I kind of have to document them either on the website or the thread, because a few people say, "Oh, what was that person said?" I would need to be an encyclopedia to remember the 400 replies. Some of the replies I've not even heard of. So
Russell Crowe, I see. So Gladiator there. He likes a bit of cheese.
Maximus Decimus, yeah.
Oh, of course, Ricky Gervais. I mean, Ricky, didn't Ricky say something about something he used to like or something?
Yeah, well, he's a vegan now, because back in the day when he used to be on a radio show when The Office first came out of XFM, he always said the only reason he would never be able to become vegan is because of cheese. He absolutely adores the stuff, but as his profile's increased over the last 10 years and his advocacy of, obviously, animal rights, etc., he's gone vegan. So he may still sample a vegan cheese, but he used to be a mature cheddar man.
Well, perhaps he could get together with Lewis Hamilton and sample some vegan cheese.
Yeah, apparently there are some good ones on the market.
Yeah, it's only going to get better, surely. I mean, they must improve these things.
Really, in the last 5 years, vegan alternative cheeses have been an absolute, massive market now.
Yeah, it just strikes me with vegetarian sausages and things. There's a couple of guys at work who have vegetarian burgers once a week. They go out and get them, and they say that it doesn't taste like meat, but it actually tastes pretty good.
Yeah, it's sort of an oxymoron with vegetarian meats and vegan cheeses. They're not words that generally go next to one another. But yeah, when you're eating essentially a fungus burger that has been shaped into a patty, you can convince yourself. But let's be honest, if you've ever been a meat eater, you'll never get that sort of that flavour, in my opinion. Again, potentially controversial. I'm losing my self-followers here with these sort of comments. I should be sitting on the fence.
One that I was really interested in was Louis Theroux. I mean, this is a guy who could actually do a documentary about the whole cheese thing.
Yeah.
But he's quite investigative, is Louis, and if there is any corruption in the World Cup of cheese, he's likely to root it out. Does that worry you?
It does, but to be fair, his last big outings on these weird weekends, when he's dealt with people like the Tiger King and Jimmy Savile, I'm hoping I'm not bundled into that sort of category. There was Joe Bangles, the Tiger King, and sort of Jimmy Savile. These weird weekends probably would need to get a little less weird to delve into the world of the Cheese World Cup.
Yeah, not to forget the Scientologists. You could be lumped in there as well.
Oh yeah, as a Scientologist, I haven't got.
There's a couple of more of these tweets here, and this guy says, "Of course, cheddar. It's the mature choice. It makes sense." But he then says, "Does anyone prefer a mild cheddar?" To me, mild cheddar is like pineapple on pizza. It's a stoning offence.
Oh well, it's mild cheddar is sort of the alcohol-free beer. It's caffeineless coffee. It's basically, you want to be seen eating cheese, but you don't actually want to taste it. It's just, it's a very bizarre idea. The whole idea of cheddar, in my opinion, is the fact that it can be sharp, it can be smoky, can be tangy, can be infused with truffles and whiskies, and then you decide to grate mild cheese, which in essence is a rubbery-based melted texture on a toasted sandwich. No, it's bordering on sort of cheesy sacrilege.
Yeah. We were talking about before we came on. We were talking about Seth Andrews and his saying that he wanted guacamole to disappear from the world and all the hate mail he got. I think you are setting yourself up here, Joe, a little bit for some hate mail.
That's why I'm hoping
like
you don't ask what pickle I like, because I'm actually not a fan of pickle, which for a cheese person is kind of sacrilege.
You don't like a bit of Branston?
No, not really, not at all. I'm a big fan of chutneys, but I think Branston pickle can sometimes overwhelm the milder cheese, in my opinion. But no, never really been a massive fan.
Oh, right, okay. We can actually get it here. I think I told you before we started recording that where I live in Perth, you don't hear that many Australian accents. It's all Brits and South Africans up here, and so we can get things like Branston pickle in the supermarkets. They bring it over.
But unfortunately, you've got to mix that with your very tasty Australian cheese.
Well, that's why I have to take a mortgage out to buy the Mersey Valley, so that I can actually taste the cheese with the pickle. There was something you said in that last little section about people wanting to be seen eating cheese. I can't think of a reason why people want to be seen eating cheese. Has it become trendy?
Yeah, well, it was never a part of the in crowd now. But to be fair, I've had quite a lot of people message to say that I come here daily to have a look, to vote on the Cheese World Cup, but they don't actually like cheese. So I do say, look, this is very much a safe space. Treat this like a therapy session. There's no sort of vegan or sort of vegetarian hate here. If you don't like cheese, we're an inclusive space in the World Cup. So yeah, come along and play along.
We're not worried about things like race or gender or sexual orientation or anything like that. It's just a cheese space.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, I messaged the likes of sort of Donald Trump and petri dish based life forms can be asked. Generally speaking, if I ask the question about cheese, it's not because I respect the individual that I'm asking. So yeah, everybody, regardless of your sexual orientation or what you self-identify as long as you don't sort of self-identify as a cheese-hating bigot, you are welcome.
Yeah. What about if they self-identify as a cheese?
Well, then they could be subject to a consumption. So that could be a dangerous game.
Yeah. Talking of Donald Trump, have you actually asked him?
Yeah, I ask him. Yeah, I ask him on pretty much 80% of the tweets he posts, which is great, because some of the followers that I've got off the back of asking him, because it literally doesn't matter what I'm replying to. Some people usually ask me to read the room if I've replied on a sensitive subject, which I will then delete because I try not to post anything. But when he's tweeting law and order with exclamation marks on, or just general sort of pro-American sort of just general sound bites that he likes to post, then yeah, it's okay to just slide a little cheesy question in.
Donald Trump, when he tweeted the Law and Order one, I don't know if you saw all the replies to that, but everybody was tweeting other TV shows underneath: Starsky and Hutch, Mork and Mindy.
Oh yeah, I retweeted I retweeted with cheese and onion exclamation marks. So they are pretty fun. Yeah, he must just have an automatic sort of outbox thing with his tweets. He must just put a timer on them. So yeah, every couple of days, Law and Order with the exclamation marks, and his just usual rhetoric is just shuffled out. So yeah, I don't think he's ever going to get back to me, but I'm more than happy to keep hounding him.
Perhaps somebody should actually make a new cheese and call it covfefe, the covfefe cheese.
Yeah, I think that would probably be bought in quite a large number, especially by people who go, "Oh no, you actually won't understand what this means. This is a cheese for people that it's for the inside crowd. You actually meant to say covfefe."
It's probably bought by people who walk around with assault rifles on their back and stuff.
There are some amazing conspiracy theories out there. Some of the hate levied towards me off the back of a cheese question is it's humorous for the most part.
So Joe, you've shot into stardom quite quickly. You've only just joined Twitter. You've got thousands of followers. You've been on the BBC and one thing and another. But I've heard that because of your sort of instant stardom, there's a few conspiracy theories springing up around you. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, the worst conspiracy of the lot was a thing called Pizzagate. There was a few replies to my messages saying hashtag Pizzagate, which I just assumed was basically, well, a promotion of the cheese that I was talking about because it was something that they may like on pizza. So I was like, oh, okay, so obviously people are quite fond of the cheese. But it was only until a lot of, well, I probably had about 30 to 40 replies of accusing me of being, well, some people say you nonce, you're a paedophile, etc. And I'm like rather taken aback by the anger of asking somebody what their favourite cheese was. It was only until somebody sent me a link that Pizzagate was a 2016 now debunked conspiracy theory that the high-ranking officials and politicians in America were operating a underground sex ring in a pizza parlor because there were some leaked emails and they were sort of extrapolating some spurious thoughts off of the back of a few emails where pizza actually means what is your favorite little girl, which to be honest, if I was that had that inclination to ask celebrities and then document them on a website, probably wouldn't be the best way to go under the radar with that.
No, almost certainly not. And is that the only conspiracy theory? I've heard other
No,
things as
yeah,
well.
there was a website that somebody sent me a link to, which I assume that they created, but there was a website that has a little side page on there, which was "Who is Joe Bangles?" with a list of about sort of 10 different conspiracy theories. Some people think that I'm sort of a part of the UK cheese board, which there isn't. If there was, I would have been more than happy to promote them at a fee. Yeah, some people think that I was an MFI agent looking to to infiltrate sort of things, sort of going in with an opening gambit of what is your favourite cheese, and then obviously ushering into the deeper, darker worlds of Twitter. Also, people asking me if I'm just trying to scam people, as if it's like a gateway question, and then I'll eventually ask for your sort code and account number. So there's a few sort of random conspiracy theories, but it's just very flattering that somebody would go to the effort of even creating a little page for it. So no, it's very sweet.
What about the Illuminati? Please tell me you're not in the Illuminati.
I'm glad you can't see the poster on the back behind me, but yeah, the big eye looking around, searching for cheese inside the triangle. Yeah, well, there's a big triangle there actually. There might be something in this. I'll have to delve deeper into the symbol, but I'm sure I could pick some cheese-based analogies out of them.
Now, because of this success that you've had, have there been copycat accounts?
Yes, there's been sort of three that have been brought to my attention. Well, the first one isn't necessarily a copycat. There's a nice guy who follows me called Neil and asked me if he would he would have any problem with him asking celebrities what their favourite crisp is, potato chip. And yeah, he's had sort of quite a lot of replies, and there was a bit of legwork in that, and it was very flattering. And then a few people have popped up trying to ask what is your favourite biscuit, and another one, what is your favourite meal deal? So a Tesco basically sandwich crisp and drink combination, which I don't really think has quite got the legs in it, because when you're asking somebody who's got £200 million in the bank and is basically a multi-award-winning celebrity, if they like a cheese and onion sandwich from Tesco's, chances are he's not going to get sort of much in the way of replies on that. But yeah. There was also a celebrity reply. There's a guy in the UK called Dom Jolly, who's a comedian, and the Biscuit Man had asked him, and he replied, tagging me in it, the celebrity, saying, "Unfortunately, Cheeseman beat you to it," with loads of Z's afterwards. So yeah, a few people have got my back in the celebrity world.
Do Tesco still do the Cumberland sausage?
I believe they do, yeah. Oh no, don't get me wrong. There are some fantastic meal deals to be had. I just don't think that many celebrities necessarily partake.
Mm. Something else we can't get in Australia, good sausages. Well, you can, but again, it's a mortgage job. There are some Irish pork sausages about and things like that. But yeah, I'd kill for a Tesco Cumberland.
Also, we would kill for actual summer beaches, friendly neighbours, and yeah, you can obviously keep the death wielding spiders and snakes, but yeah, there's a good trade off to be had, I think.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people I have on who talk to me about how brave I must be to live in Australia, but we just don't. You don't get taipans living in the suburbs.
No, No, and as a person who grew up in East London, I would say that, yeah, it was probably more dangerous growing up in an East London council estate than it would be potentially amongst some spiders in the outback. But yeah, the mortality rate's quite as a fair bit higher in East London, I think, if I've had a look at the stats.
Yeah, I grew up in East London as well.
I feel your pain.
So the friend who introduced us, Dog Botherer, he told me that Michelle Obama is actually waiting for you to ask her. Have you actually asked her, and have you got a reply?
I have asked her, although I feel rather cheeky because on a few occasions when I'm trying to lure A-list American celebrities in, because I know that Michelle Obama is held in extremely high regards, I have flirted with, well, I was going to say an untruth, but let's call it a lie, and put the fact that I've had a reply from Michelle Obama, because I would like to think that if they see, oh, Michelle Obama's replied to the cheese guy, I'll sort of reply as well. So I've yet to get a reply. I have asked, but I have also used her as a little bit of a lie to incentivize other people to reply, which has worked. So it's a little lie, but it's worked in my favor. So
I think it would be, a lot of people have said this, if Michelle Obama had actually run for president this year, she would have got in a landslide. And then you'd have had a real feather in your cap, because you'd have had, a president, a real president, not like Donald Trump, but a real president who'd actually, replied to your cheese inquiry. That would have been great. Where do you see this going, Joe? What's the end game? When the World Cup is finished, is there going to be another World Cup? Is it going to be a yearly event? Is it 4 years like the World Cup? Where's it going?
That's a very good question. I literally have no idea. A few people have asked me when the World Cup finishes, which is next Saturday, is the final, the 11th. People have asked, what are you going to do with your account? Are you going to delete it? Are you going to start releasing merchandise as if I've got a truckload of tea towels with what is your favourite cheese on it ready to go? No, this isn't for any financial gain. There is no end game. I don't have merch, as it were. Yeah, I may well do another Cheese World Cup if this one ends successfully, if it doesn't become monotonous and boring for the people voting, because the biggest criticism was the fact that I only had 16 cheeses in there, and there were so many wonderful cheeses that didn't make the cut, but I wasn't expecting really for people to participate. So I may just continue and just see where it goes from there. There might be something else that I can do with it. The website can evolve as well. So no, I'm literally just taking it day by day as a little bit of a fun project.
I think maybe you should have a qualification tournament, like they do for the World Cup.
Yeah, I think that's definitely, that was a good idea. The reason I put it at 16, because I completely forgot that you can vote from 4 different options. So somebody had recommended putting 4 up against each other per day with the top 2 going through, so I can double the speed in which it turns around. But doing 64 down to 32 to 16, that would literally take a whole month just to get through if I was to do one a day. And I thought, well, to be fair, people would probably get quite bored. But no, the feedback of people suggesting that their favourite cheese was left out of the World Cup is it's been rather overwhelming. So no, I'll definitely be doing another World Cup after this, but might not wait until 2024.
You say that it would take a whole month, but it strikes me that getting the best cheese in the world identified and voted for is worth a month of your time.
Oh, I'm inclined to agree now, but when I started the World Cup, I was expecting probably 30 to 40 people to maybe sort of chime in and get involved. It was only after the first day when I pitted Camembert up against Brie, to a lot of people's dismay, that they saw that as a semi-final apparently. But it was only to my surprise when over 3,000 people had decided to vote that I thought it may actually have some legs. A few people saying that their country's cheese weren't represented, that it was very sort of Eurocentric. There was a few accusations banded around, but there's definitely a better way to structure the next World Cup. So there will be preliminary rounds. There will be making sure that other cheeses from around the world are put in there.
Well, it's a bit like the actual World Cup itself. We just used to send a club. Initially, it was Arsenal got sent, didn't they, for the first couple of World Cups, rather than a representative team? Woolwich Arsenal, as they were known then.
Yeah.
And so, this is an inaugural World Cup, and people are going to make suggestions, and you'll be able to make the organisation much more professional in the future.
Well, I think I'll definitely have to look into that, although I'm slightly mindful of what cheeses I add, because I've volunteered a kilo of cheese to a random winner, and it will be a high-end variety of that cheese. If in the next World Cup there's a cheese called Pule, Pule, which is a Serbian donkey cheese, which is the rarest in the world at £1,000 a kilo. Now, the fact that this is a non-for-profit bit of fun website, if Pule for some reason does romp home with a win, I've got to find £1,000 to potentially ship off some Serbian donkey cheese to the far corners of America, potentially. So, yeah, I'll be keeping that in mind.
Well, Joe, thanks very much for your time. I know we had a lot of technical difficulties getting on to start with, but I just wanted to ask you as a final question, if you could bring back one person to share a cheese with, and it could be a mythical character, it could be a character from history, who would that person be and why?
Oh, tough question. If I'm allowed to bring back a mythical person, it would probably be Jesus. Yeah, I just think the idea of him being able to, because it's the good wine pairings that I like with a good cheese, and the fact that he can conjure some amazing reds. Obviously, he can do a lot with a couple of fish and a few loaves. I think he would be able to make my spread absolutely immaculate with some beautiful, nice sort of ryes and maybe some sourdoughs. I know he was a carpenter, but no, by the sounds of things, his bakery skills are pretty good. So no, that would be, I think Jesus would be fantastic with that. Just sort of some really good sort of wine and bread combinations for some strong and tangy cheddars. So yeah, His Holiness Jesus Christ would be the guy for the job.
Well, thanks very much for that.
No, you're very welcome.
Yeah, thanks for your time, Joe, and we'll speak again soon. Maybe we'll do another session when you're gearing up for the next World Cup.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you very much for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you.